Hey guys, welcome back to the shop, or should I say my kitchen. We have a fairly small kitchen. It's not a very big house, but the kitchen is fairly small. There's not a lot of cabinets. There's not a lot of storage solutions. So I'm going to try today and fix one of those for my wife. She stores all of her spices up here. And we bought a couple of these inexpensive plastic racks just to see if that would work for her. And, well, they don't. Even I have trouble reaching these back here, and she's certainly shorter than I am. So what I'm going to build is a box that slides inside of here where she can pull them out and have access out here to everything. The other thing about these racks is there's probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 inches behind these racks that we're not utilizing the space. So by having a full pull out, she'll be able to get more items in here, have better organization, and be able to get to everything. Now this particular cabinet has a few issues that I'll have to deal with. There's a lip all the way around this face frame that's on this cabinet. So my box has to fit inside of this space frame, and then it will sit down on this floor. Not a major deal. I will also have to take the doors off so that I can get the box by the hinges and hopefully have a close enough or tight enough fit where things look like it was intended to be there. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't have the plywood. I got to make a trip to go get some Baltic birch plywood, and the construction will be in 3/4 Baltic birch plywood. I will probably just edge band it, or I may even paint it to match the cabinet. In this case, it just doesn't matter. I haven't decided on that yet. So let me go get the plywood. I have full extension drawer glides. 22 inches is what the drawer glides are for this cabinet. Now your cabinet may be different. So I'll get all those parts. I will see you guys out in the shop, and we'll build a box. Okay guys, it's actually been a few days since I worked on this project. We were having some dinner guests this week, and my wife just didn't want her kitchen kind of torn apart while we did this. So as you can see, I got the plywood, and I know it's really hard to see, but I went ahead and laid out all the pieces where they go on this actual piece of plywood. It doesn't matter because this is going to be painted, so these lines on here really don't matter. I also did a quickie mock-up drawer, not a real used one, just to make sure everything was kind of going to slide in and out of here the way it's supposed to. And actually this goes this way, in and out. And so yeah, so these will, you know, still get a little lip and they'll get joinery. This will be much better. So yeah, next up we're going to move over to the table saw. We're going to cut the rabbets on each end, both the top and the bottom. I'm going to come through and get the 4 dados in the middle. I'm going to dry fit everything, get my measurements, and triple check, make sure it goes in the cabinet correctly. And then I'm going to pull it all apart and I'm going to paint it. So that's my goal today, is to get these parts painted and then get after it tomorrow with some assembly and start building the pullouts. Okay, so I'm just going to get the case glued up. I'm going to glue in the ends and of course the 2 sides. And then the center dividers I'm just going to drop in place just to help hold everything square while the glue dries. Okay, so there's the painted piece all in place. It's square. And so I'm just going to let that cure up, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add screws because you're never going to see the screws, and it will add for the strength. So I will come back and add the screws. Then we're going to pull all these center dividers out and start making the pullouts. Okay, so next up, just need to install the glides on each one of the shelves that'll slide in. And 3 of them go this way and 3 of them come this way, and that's because the cupboard door's open, and if they face towards that cupboard door, there'd be at least one pull out there that would be just difficult, so they're all going to face towards the center. Now I created just a little simple shop-made jig just to keep everything consistent from shelf to shelf. Literally just going to slide it on, line up the glide, and get a screw in it. Just like that. Okay, so there all the glides are in. I haven't secured the dividers yet, and I took that mock-up tray and slid it in here just to make sure everything was as it should be. And this is what I was talking about, where these 3 will face this direction and the other 3 will face this direction because the doors open and close, so that takes the doors out of play. So next up, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-cut all my verticals and set up the dado stack in the saw, because each one is going to be a little bit different for where they actually fit in. So I'll do all that off of camera. I did cut a couple of just small shims to put in the bottom to give me a little clearance. And so yeah, we're going to come back and build these, and we'll hopefully get to some fronts here soon. Okay, so off camera I went ahead and cut all the individual shelf pieces, accounting for a 3/8 rabbet in the sidewalls. And I cut these rabbets off camera as well. All these rabbets are in the bottom, and they're all the same on each one. What varies now, when I go cut the next rabbets for the upper shelf in each one, that location will change depending on what my wife wants to store. So I'm going to mark out and get this first one over here and head over to the table saw and get that rabbet cut, and then get it all glued up. And I'll probably come back and add screws from the back side after the glue is dry. All right, so all I'm going to do is glue these up. And this is just a long process because I only have so many of these 90-degree jigs, and I don't really want to make some more. Not that that would be hard. I'll get them glued in. I'll get it flipped over and get some screws in it. I think these will ultimately be painted, so I'm not too worried about seeing the screws and whatnot. So to install those, I used a piece of hardboard at the bottom as a shim, and then just simply pulled the slides out and put it on as it goes, so that they turn out like this. Now I still have to do face fronts and all that good stuff, but we'll get to that probably tomorrow. It'll take me a while to get through the rest of these drawers with dry time on glue and whatnot. So I will see you guys tomorrow morning, and I'll have all these in and we'll get going on drawer fronts. Okay, and I apologize, I know this is really hard to see. I created the first drawer front, and I'll show you how I did the handles and all that in just a minute. I put the drawer back in. Now none of this stuff is painted yet, and I went with 3/4 inch Baltic birch because it's all going to be painted. I've marked some lines on here after test fitting this in the cabinet in the house, so that I know exactly where it goes. And I have a square here to verify that. So I'm just going to get some glue on the actual drawer. I'm going to set this on there and I'm going to pin nail it just to keep it in place. And then I'll come back and countersink and add screws, and I'll putty those screws before we go to paint. Okay, so apologies. Apparently I forgot to turn the audio on before I drilled my hole. But what you can see, this is the actual pull, and you see it's got this round recess here, and then it has a deeper recess up here, and that's what I marked out here. And I've cut for the shallower recess, and then I'll go over to the bench and I'll use a hand drill and another smaller Forstner bit to hog out this material and then clean it up with a chisel. Okay, again, apologies. When I got into edit, I realized I had dead batteries, so there was no volume to me drilling with the deeper Forstner bit, but I think you got the idea. And then I've reset up a mock setup here so that you can see the template and stuff that I use. Now, this is just a shop-made template to fit the actual handle, and I've set up a guide bushing in the router, and I have a corresponding 1/2 inch, just a straight bit in here to hog out all of this material. And then of course with the deeper holes in there, then the hinge will fit right in, and I will show you the one that's already done so that you can see it. But all it is that depth is set to fit that hinge face just right. And there you can see how it all fits in there nice and flush. Everything functions the way that it should. And 1 down and 5 to go. Okay, so there it is. The construction's pretty much complete. Obviously, these drawer fronts are still pretty ugly. They all work really nice. I'm happy with that. I like the pulls. So all that's great. I'm actually going to use Bondo to fill in all of these screw holes, to include the one that I miscalculated and made an extra hole. But I'm going to get all those cleaned up and everything sanded, and I'm going to use that to clean up the edges on the plywood just a little bit, sand everything, and then come back with the milk paint again on the inside, and we're actually going to go with a chalk paint on the drawer fronts themselves. I'll probably paint the drawer fronts first because that's going to be spray, and the milk paint will be a brush on or a roll on. So let me get all these out of here. I'm going to go mount the cabinet in the house. It just slides in and screws down, so there's nothing really to see there. But I will show you once I get all these painted and get everything in. Okay, so off camera I added these little back braces just so things don't fall off in the back. All I did was just cut them to angle. Glue and a pin nail is all I did there. Next I'm going to mix up the putty, and I'm going to go after all of these holes, and then I'll sand this when I'm done and shoot it. Okay guys, well there it is. It's all finished up. Again, apologies I didn't video me painting these. I sprayed these fronts and they were done in the old shop where the lighting's not as good. So I didn't put that on film. Everything functions really nice. It works well getting around the hinges. So that all turned out really well. All the soft close works really well. And I'll give you a close-up view of it on the way out. And yeah, so my wife's happy with it, so that's all that really counts. And that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Until next time, take care.